Hey y'all, it's Byron Trendline Boys. Hope you're doing well late at night. Let's kind of just get this out of the way. Let me just show where some of these are because they're kind of coming back a little bit more into use. So just kind of showing where these are. We see where the day hits here, the 4 hits here also as well. Only so much of a deviancy between the two, or deviation. We can see the week time frame hit here. That's where these were. So these were established essentially when we were first coming down, and they're things that I've used since then. If someone wants to, you can always go and check. There's like a Bitcoin. Da, 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 da. Let me see if I can find it real quick. It should be around June 12th. Comprehensive update if you really want. And you can come check through here, 20-minute videos. All we're kind of just like talking about, this stuff when we were up here and doing all that kind of stuff. So I don't want to get into it too much, but it shows a little bit more of the strength of these lines. It gives a little bit more of understanding. So some things I like that I don't like. I don't like that we've come up here already. I would have preferred to like just stay here. I understand why we'd come up here. It makes sense. That's the next place of resistance. So it makes sense that it would just push up to kind of hit there. But what I think would be best is if it didn't, because then it at least leaves kind of as another target. So, and also for, I mean, I guess it switched over here. It could have hit up here and then switched over here. So this is kind of a separate thing. But the separate thing I don't like is that we're all the way up here. I would like to see this bounce here, more specifically here. I think I could deal with it being okay if we came down to here. I really would like to see confirmation on top of this line. Similar to here, we come above, switch over. So if we just kind of want to look at it in a different way, we could just do invert scale real quick to kind of analyze this. So you kind of see what I'm saying? It would be nice to see some kind of confirmation and then some sort of, for stronger direction. Otherwise, to me, this is a little bit weak. A lot of this has been going off the market, though. Like I said, in these last two videos, we kind of explain a lot of that. And we can kind of show where we are in the market, I think, is also pretty important to show where we are with Bitcoin. So one thing I'm just going to go back to Bitcoin. I think it's pretty much fine for the rest of the week. I don't really want to see it go up. I want to see it come down. I think it's fine. I believe it'll be fine for with the way that the market ended, which we'll see soon. I believe it's fine for Bitcoin and for alts. And I actually think it's pretty good because essentially what we're looking at is an expectation that Bitcoin's going to come down. I think it's very likely this hits here and pushes through. I don't think this. I deem the day hole here definitely to be much stronger than this line, even with the data that we can see here. So if we ended under here, maybe I'd be a little bit concerned. Ultimately, I need to see it end back under here to expect us to try to come back down. Otherwise, I think it's fine. So what do I mean by that? I think it's pretty fine for these alts based on what they look like. Obviously, we want to see a nice USDT price or USD pair. Price action or chart, whatever you're looking at it. You also want to see something nice to its Bitcoin pair, and I think both of those combined, especially with something that looks nice to Bitcoin, would be really good. So Bitcoin might come down a little bit, but it's not going to be anything, in my opinion, that's expected to drop through. And I think that's going to give a lot of strength to these alts in a nice weekend and a nice chance for them to possibly break out and make some nice moves. So a lot of things did get hit pretty hard, which we'll probably see, when we had to Bitcoin with its Bitcoin pair. A lot of things probably did get hit pretty hard. So there could be some things in some pretty nice positions here. But long story short, I expect it to come down to here where it is today is 20,582. So we'll see. I prefer to go there instead of up. I don't want this to some reason go up and up. We only have like what 2 days. The 12th, I believe, is 10, 11, 12. Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Yeah, so 12 is on Monday. So I mean, it can only really do so much. So we'll really see what it's going to do. I just really feel like it can't do a lot. First, I'd like to see it come back down. I just don't think it really has the chance to like shoot up. And this is like a really another big place for it. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with it. But it seems nice. It seems pretty confined to where it is. I'm not really worried about it dropping. And I think the main focus here really should be on alt. Um, but I would be a little bit worried. We'll see a little bit more. Like I said, the usual. I'll stream at 30 minutes before the week candle change, and we'll be able to get a better idea on Sunday. But hopefully it comes down. It's a little sketchy if it goes up. I don't know if it really means much in the meantime because I just don't see it. Like maybe it goes up here. Like we only have so many days, so right there's only so much that can really happen. Anyway, let's kind of go today. Let's kind of go where we left off yesterday. So, kind of one of the biggest battles here. I use Apple. You'll see this more and more as you kind of watch these videos and you know the streams. Anyone that watches this stuff, you already kind of know. Well, you already do know. So really, this does change every once in a while. We burst up. This started at it ended right on or it started right on it at 48. Right, so we can see up here on the top left, 48, and we can see where it opened, 48. So it started right above it. When this opened, it was at 47. So it looked pretty nice from this perspective. One thing that threw me off, and it stopped me from taking a hard position. Otherwise, it would have been a couple easy $1,000 here, like no joke. I mean, it was pretty easy to see if it started above here. everything lined up, and we can kind of see in another sense what I'm talking about. So when we really go in here and we see, when I go in the lower time frame, we'll really see the fight here that started on the beginning of the day with Apple, and it'll make a lot more sense with this fib level. So we can see what happened, and especially if we go into the extended hours here, so we can see what happened before hours. It definitely really kind of paints a picture of what they're trying to do. I remember waking up in the morning and seeing this, and then another thing I remember seeing was also the VIX, which was also another pretty big indicator for today. I'm not, oh, that's because it's whatever. Let me adjust this. I have a left side chart and a right side. Not everything gets adjusted. We're looking on the day, so it kind of doesn't matter. I'll just move it here for now. But we can see how we started on the bottom side, so it makes sense that we're going to have more upwards pressure on the market today. I think this is kind of what's been pushing it, and then we'll get to the VIX in a little bit and talk about some potential possibilities for that and how the market could really shoot up if we expect the VIX to have a decent impact on stuff, which is a little bit scary. Um, but it still is in the realm with everything having a really hard crash. There's a certain trend line. Obviously, anyone that's really looked at the VIX, they'll know what I'm talking about, and we'll look at that in a little bit also as well. So we have the extended hours. We have pre-market trading here, right? Start over 4. Beautiful, just needs to sit here, just needs to sit here, just needs to sit here. Huge sell down, huge attempt, in my opinion, to try to bring this down. There's no reason to sell here in pre-market. No reason at all. It makes zero sense. Zero sense. So to me, this is just them trying to push it down. And what do? They finally get it, and it starts right in between here. So let's kind of see what this means and quantify it in a sense, and we can see how the market really reacted to this. So let's get off extended hours because I hate extended hours. And we can really see. So we start under the fib level, but at the 4 hour. And I can show this in a second. How with the strength? Well, I'm too lazy to show. Well, I'll do this. We'll do it in a second. But anyway, we see how it starts in between, pushes down, pushes down, pushes down, fight. So this is the best place to take a position. So I think this was a great place to take a position, but a small position, not a short position. That sounds wrong, but a small position. We have 5 minute confirmation. I don't think we had 15. We had 15-minute confirmation. I think up here or something. Yeah, really uncertain. And a lot of this day was pretty uncertain. I remember playing something here, and then I think I tried to play something here because I was kind of bored, and I was just like, whatever. Just pretty straightforward stuff. We can also see on the 5 minute just to kind of have a quick run up. So we do this here. We get our quick support. Ugly, ugly, ugly. But we have to remember at the end of the day, the VIX looks like it's this on the day. Where is it going to get strength? It's kind of questionable. And like I said, we'll get to that in a second, a little bit more. So let's go through this again, kind of show here. We finally make our way up. What are we looking for? 2 hour 200. What are we looking for? Preferably a 2 hour end above it. What do we get? A 2 hour end right under it. So this is kind of one of the reasons why I took my position. And then we can see here on the 5 minute, um, it was just like a mess around position because I just was kind of bored throughout the day. I'm not really a huge fan of like small scalping and stuff, though everyone does what they want. It's not a huge deal. So essentially, I got in right here, and then I got out because we can see here on the reversal, and then right on this candle here when we started back above. So we had a reversal, start above, and then boom, I got out of it right there. And then I think I entered one in here just like super out of the money. Actually, I played the same thing. It's funny because I got these for 10 cents, sold it for 17. Then I got some more for 3 cents, I think, and I just let it run because I didn't care. I mean, technically, it might have came back down maybe again. There's another thing that kind of comes into this where it's after a certain point, like where bear is really going to push it. There's nothing really to form, so it kind of makes sense later in the day that it's not just going to drop. I think this was probably the biggest time for it to drop, and at most, even if it came down here, still pretty likely we'd see some sort of head and shoulders, and it wouldn't have come down anymore for the end of the day. I think it's kind of funny though that there are 10 here, 17 here, and then there are 3 cents here. Um, but anyway, you know, it's just okay. There's nothing really too special. But the point is, we can look at the 2 hour, we look at the 4 hour. So on the 4 hour here, we didn't end up above here, which was kind of sad. We started underneath. And then we can see on the 2 hour for the last 2 hour at 3:30, we did start up here. We have this pretty ugly candle. I don't think it's low enough to be like a gravestone, but it's fairly ugly for what it is. I don't think it's like a huge deal though. So what I'm looking for, I think this was more than fine because we started up here. So there's a possibility that we can get a 4 hour start, that we can get a day start, but we're also close enough to this. And this is what I'm kind of looking for. So anyone knows, especially with that's in there all the time, we want to see the holes. We like to see confirmation on these holes. That's pretty much how we operate. That's how we work, you know. So It's pretty much like that. Not everything always pushes up, but when it looks good and it's struggling, that's when we start getting concerned, and then we have big drops. So, kind of looking at this now, for me, the most for like a bullish signal, so this is where it really gets a little bit tough. Um, because there's so essentially without going too slow. So this is where it gets tough, and we'll have to check the VIX out in a second. And the VIX really could be fighting against any sort of bearishness and could make so much of this ugly. I'm not exactly sure how to quantify this yet. And I'll show you guys, and maybe you guys can kind of give your own opinion on it and let me know what you think. So for me, it's pretty simple. I want to see us start above here. I think we'll easily gain this. This is easy to get. We'll have a huge start to the next week tomorrow if we can just start above here. That's what I want to see. If we start in this range, I think it will be like okay, won't look the best, but we'll be having this above it. So I will be waiting to see if we start above and just looking for confirmation like a normal human being instead of just buying stuff crazily. But let's check the VIX out. We'll kind of get a better idea of what I'm actually talking about. So let's kind of just go over the run up for the VIX again. We remember we are talking about this point. Let's see, we had our video, what is it? August 10th, right? Boom. The VIX is almost at the 19, right? 1971, 1993 target. And we see down here, I mentioned this in my last video too, boom, boom, month time, week time frame, both very close. So there's a kind of convergence of these averages, which is fairly rare, especially on the 200 smooth, because it does not move quickly. It is not a quick moving average like these Hull averages or any weighted moving average. So anyway, we push off here and we can kind of see what we're doing. A little bit ugly with some of it, looked pretty good. Kind of has to push up. We can see it gets rejected. This is where that week line is. These are all just showing you where that line time frame is, so I don't have to click on the week to show you, you see? So this is just to see that. Obviously, it moved a little bit here. It literally doesn't matter. So um, let's get that out of the way. I don't know what that was. Let me actually close my Discord on there. Anyway, so what we can kind of see is, which is really interesting, is it's a lot of weird stuff. We're playing very high on the VIX. And so I don't want to go over this too much because I've gone over the other videos. A lot of weird price action. We started under the week, boom, boom. This was probably, in my opinion, one of the more clear days with the VIX. I wasn't sure how to take everything because it seems small when I say I didn't like Apple or I wasn't sure a little bit about the day because of 5 to 10%. But sometimes that's what it is. Sometimes it's 2 to 3 that makes the difference. So anyway, if we assume that we're kind of coming down from here from the weeks, which is just ugly, we didn't start above a single one, and when we started here, push down. So maybe we push back up. Still think that's pretty unlikely to expect because there's no reasonable support under us. We have like what, a 2 and a 4, nothing really that great. So for me, long story short, what does this mean? I think we're pushing down. This is kind of gets into that 5-year trend I was talking to you all about, where technically it starts. It's like it really depends what you want to call it. We could say the trend starts here. Probably we could say it's like a 3-year trend. I think it depends where you want to say. It's been going on for 5 years. We want to took to start to finish. Where it really formed, I think, is more like here, which is 3 years instead. So, but some interesting things to note. We do have good price action. There is a great buying and great selling. A lot of great volatility around the month and the week average. But what do we see here? When it comes down and hits here, we see a big shot up. Boom, boom, boom. Build up. Big shot up. Boom, boom. Decent shot up, not huge. So it'll be really interesting to see if we push back into here. One, can we actually get back up over this? But two, this almost insinuates from where we currently are, it could be anywhere between another 20 to 23 per 24% drop on the VIX. And what could that mean just for pushing up in the market if that's going to be the interpretation for this? So I'm not sure how to quantify this. I'm not sure what to expect. Every other time, it pretty much shoots up. It hits here and just shoots up and hits stuff. So I definitely think there's a decent chance of at least bouncing up and coming back. So I at least weigh this pretty heavily. But coming down here still is pretty significant. It means the market would move up quite a bit. So we'll see what happens. There's no clear signs and a lot of weird buying, but it's possible that the weird buying is kind of coming from people looking at the VIX. So for me to be long term, like bull, we'll see what happens. But obviously, we need a break in the trend on a month or a week. We can clearly see here that we bounce, but we never end a month or a week under this. So it's something to kind of note there. So I think that's pretty interesting, and we'll kind of have to see what happens with that. So But if we kind of look at this in this range, we could say we have until like September next year. Obviously, a lot of things could happen. Um, but the point is, there's just not a lot here. So we'll see what happens. We could bounce all the way back down here. I'll be looking for that. And I'll be looking to try to make a play there, possibly, or just see what happens. And then if we have something on the bottom side, a little bit of a like price action on the bottoms, a weaker, like maybe a day, preferably like a week close. A month would be perfect, but I doubt we'll get that lucky. I would expect this then to move down. I think that's a pretty standard bullish play there too, all things considered. So now that we kind of looked at the VIX, we get a little bit better idea about that. And I think it's important also because I might make another video just to kind of go over um, just to kind of go over more stuff about crypto, but this is very important because this stuff determines what happens on the market, and then what happens in the market determines what happens in Bitcoin. Now, like I like to say, not everything can happen, or not everything can happen anywhere, but anything can happen at certain places, and those are kind of the places to fight, you know? So we're still in this. I don't want to go too much into it. It's not a big deal. So what I think I'll do is I'll try to go through some other ones, and I think, or like, well, let's take this, and then I think I'll create a separate video, and we'll look at some of the altcoins specifically. That's what we'll do. Um, and so I'll just take the rest of this time kind of trying to explain why we looked at this and why this is really kind of important, because this is the understanding of the setup for longer term plays that people might want to be doing. And if we're afraid, if people see anybody with any sort of money should know that the overall market affects Bitcoin, especially in the last year anyway. So the point of that is we can kind of this sets the tone, especially on weekends, of what Bitcoin's going to look like. How much it'll move is dependent on Bitcoin, but the direction and the sentiment is dependent on the VIX, Apples, because what I use as a determinant for a lot of stuff. Sorry if your eyes hurt for that, my bad. Um, and then the indices also as well. And I guess just to show the other indices, to throw those in here. Excuse me, I don't think those are important. No real confirmation here, which is kind of understandable because it looked pretty nice the other day, especially where we set up. But no gap close, no confirmation still at the day. So we started under, no confirmation. Not a big fan on the SPY. Started above, no confirmation. I'm not a big fan. I'm really not. So I'm very worried if we do come down on this stuff. I don't think we're going to test, and I think it's very likely that we'll just come under. Now, the same as always, the same as the Nasdaq. We'll see what happens with the other ones, but excuse me, I'll look at the Dow Jones in a second. It's not important, but I do expect this is going to be the obvious for the short. Is under the 4 hour, and we can see Nasdaq, same thing. We have the daytime frame, boom, boom, because the 4 hours is the only thing here. 2 hours are like probably somewhere here. But the thing is, between like here and 9.2, these are the only significant time frame averages, or like the only averages here. So um, just kind of wanted to throw that out. I don't think oil really matters to anything. I don't like it just because I put in the other videos. I'll put in this one also as well. We could expect a bounce here. I don't like this, but I don't think it's a horrible position. I will say that. So if we can find a little bit of support here, it could be okay. I really don't like it though, because it makes me wonder, like, out of all these people, and especially with this, who wants to buy here? And just kind of show again, we have the month time frame right here, and then we have the week time frame right here. So it seems like a whole bunch of reasons to buy it. I don't understand what they were doing on this week, but okay. Um, you know, and the DXY, obviously, if everything looks sketchy, we're gonna see some trouble with that. So we'll see what happens. I think there's a decent chance on the 12-hour. We'll have to see where things open. I think it's more likely that we see something like this, and we just see this. It does look like it's on a continuation upward, so I think this is more likely to push up. So even if it switches over here, should still at least try to push up before getting rejected at anything, and then possibly pushing down. So that is kind of one thing to note. So maybe we look for it to push up first, look on a short time frame, and see if we can see any kind of failure going on. Most likely, with where everything is, I think we're still going to be fairly bullish in the next week. It's just very kind of concerning um, with some of these things. So anyway, I'll leave this here, and then we're going to go over the altcoins. And what I'll do is that'll be a separate idea. But what I'm going to do is I'll link it to this idea also as well. But yeah, all right, take care, guys. Hope this was useful. Like I said, if you don't see it yet in about an hour or two, or come back tomorrow and you should see the update for the altcoins. All right. Take care, y'all.